If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Hey y'all, hola mi gente, it's me Lydia, and welcome back to the Get My Life tour, and welcome to the Get My Life tour. If this is your first time tuning in, I am super excited that you decided to join me. This is the third stop on this tour. You're probably thinking, 3? I'm more like 3, yes. You got to celebrate the small wins, you know what I'm saying? It has been quite some time since I have been producing the Get My Life tour. So this is the third stop, and it is just me this week. But I am so glad that I have you right here by my side, center stage. You know, I really want to dive deeply into a reoccurring theme, and that is getting back to the dreams of your childhood and overcoming discouragement. About 2 months ago, I turned 30, and I have been telling everybody how great 30 has been, even though it's been 2 months, okay? And it really hasn't even been 2 months. My birthday is June 18th, and we're quite not there at the 18th mark here in August, but close enough. And as I reflect back on the last 29 years of my life, I really have been thinking about how important it is to remain encouraged and pursue the dreams of your childhood. For me, one of my childhood dreams was being a host, both on air and on television. You know, 5-year-old Lydia would find anything that looked like a microphone, including a brush, a comb, a hot comb, if it wasn't on a stove, just as a prop and a reason to take center stage. I always knew that I just wanted to tell stories. So I would do so. I would tell stories. I was always in grown folks' business, and I would tell jokes in front of family and friends. My mom, sister, and dad were my primary audience. Shout outs to y'all for listening. But I always knew that is what I wanted to pursue. And I feel like it's become a part of my identity, you know, being a storyteller, right? But along the journey, I became discouraged. You know, I went from being Lydia Winfrey and Lydia Lake. Y'all remember Oprah Winfrey Show and Ricky Lake. I don't know how I became a hodgepodge of them both, but somehow I did, right? But somehow I also became discouraged along the journey. I mean, imagine this 5-year-old charismatic child who was never afraid to speak up, being almost silenced in a sense. I feel like a lot of it was life, but a lot of it, you know, was intentional by others. So before I go further into my story, I really want to read the definition of discouragement. And as defined by Oxford, discouragement is loss of confidence, enthusiasm, or dispiritedness. It's also defined as an attempt to prevent something by showing disapproval or creating difficulties or deterrent. Y'all, I feel like we don't talk about discouragement enough because it's something that, you know, almost is like taboo. If you're a believer or if you're spirited and you're ambitious, you shouldn't be discouraged. Like nothing should discourage you, right? People often have that arrogance when it comes to courage. Like, you should not be discouraged. Who am I? I'm like, whoa, please calm down. Way outside of me getting in my own way at times, if we just gonna keep it 100%. But discouragement is a real thing. You know, I think about my journey, wanting to be a storyteller, a journalist, a writer, a producer, all these things, right? And I think about those moments in the living room, and I also think about a very profound moment for me, and it was when I was in the 3rd grade, and we had an assignment to create a book. I was given a few sheets of paper, straw that was malleable, as well as Hawaiian print cloth. And at that moment, I decided that I was going to create a poetry book. A childhood friend of mine, his sister was a poet, and I remember reading some of her poetry and hearing her recite some of her poetry, and I thought it was extremely dope. So I was like, I am going to write a poetry book, and that's exactly what I did. I wrote about everything, things that I'll share later as we journey on this tour together, but not quite yet, just on the stop. But I wrote, and I remember that moment and moments of wanting to be center stage. So I, played basketball, and I did all these things. I was like cheerleading coach and homecoming queen and prom queen and all these things. Even when I went to college, I was like, okay, look, I was pretty cool in college. In high school. So I'm going to just continue to go for it. So in college, I would, recite my poetry, participate in open mics, and do spoken word. I was, Miss West Coast and Miss Royal Blue and White, and, pledged Delta Sigma Theta sorority, incorporated the best and the only sorority, if you ask me about anything Greek. Okay, I have friends who are AKs, and they're great, and all those other people as well, right? Anyway, I say all that to say that I always found ways to take center stage, but I did not always recognize how dispirited I was, and it was because of how discouraged I became along the way. For so long, I, signed myself up. Literally, I would forward signatures just to be places and participate because it was important for me to just find an escape. And while I was never fully invested in being popular or, the popularity contests and things of that nature that, we all either engage in or, are not a part of, I became discouraged because there were people who I thought should be rooting for me and on the sideline or in the stands who just were not there. And it wasn't because, it was partly because they chose not to be there, but it was also because of their experiences in life that didn't prepare them to be available to me in that way, right? So in saying that, all of that contributed to me being discouraged. There were so many big moments that I had as I was searching for my voice, as I was seeking opportunities, and as I was killing it. But the crowd wasn't there, right? That's why I always say it's so important to perform for a crowd of one, right? And this is why the Get My Life tour is extremely important for me, because along the lines or along the way, when I was becoming discouraged, I didn't think that I'd have the opportunity to host, to be center stage, or to be heard. So I'm getting back to the dreams of my childhood. I can't wait for someone to be like, yo, I think you're dope. How about this opportunity? No, I was like, you know what? I've been on this Get My Life tour for some time now. I think this is the name. It was confirmed that this is the name, and now we're on tour, right? And I say that to also say that it is important to be present when you show up somewhere. I feel like I'm having deja vu right now, so I'm looking around my apartment, and I'm like, I'm not freaking dragging this along, am I? I hope not. So thank you for sticking with me. But it is so important to be present when you show up. A lot of us go throughout life and we're going through, literally just going through whatever it is, the muck and the mire, and we're showing up to places we don't want to be, or we're showing up and we're killing it, but we can't fully appreciate the moment and what it is that we've produced and what, the Most High has afforded us, because we are doing things and operating from a spirit of defeat, or we're discouraged or afraid. and still doing it. You know, a lot of people preach, do it afraid. And I think that's great. But I think that we also need to be very honest about how discouraged we are or become along the way while being able to produce. And I think it's important to speak about because it's very dangerous. You know, if you are discouraged, my advice to you is to renew your enthusiasm. You know, I wrote about this and posted it on the Get My Life Tour Instagram page, but I think you owe it to yourself to renew your enthusiasm and get excited about the things that you've always wanted. You know, me recording this episode right now here in Harlem is me renewing my enthusiasm. It's me getting back to the dreams of my childhood. No one is going to, you know, sit down and be like, so, I mean, maybe a therapist. I am not her. But what I'm saying is you owe that to yourself. No one's going to give that to you. You know, that attempt to prevent something, by showing disapproval or creating difficulties is real. Think about all the moments you've had in your life where you just wanted to have someone show up for you, root for you, and encourage you. And then think about the times that you've killed it and you weren't able to be who you needed. That's what I'm getting to today. You know, so I don't want to drag this along because, you know, I really want this episode to help you reflect on, you know, what your dreams are. So I'd say write down the dreams of your childhood, and think about how you can renew your enthusiasm. You know, also, I'd say in getting back to the dreams of your childhood, be honest and be open about what it is that you want. You know, people will find an opportunity to tell you who they think you are or to convince you of something they think that you should be doing, or just because it may be beneficial to them, right? You know, people take advantage of those who they see as weak or those who that they don't understand. Being clear is important, and I really am practicing that myself. I've often found myself between places and I'm like, am I tired of this, or is it me, or is it them, or is it whatever, right? So clarity most definitely helps with that. You know, my mic drop moment for today is don't undermine the power that it takes to be vulnerable, because that is where you begin to face your ability to do something that frightens you. And that last point is really the definition of courage, the ability to do something that frightens you. So correct your posture, renew your enthusiasm, write it down, and get ready to execute regardless of how you feel. If it scares you, it's most likely the thing that you should be doing. Do not become complacent in your reality if you know that there are still dreams of your childhood that you should be pursuing. I say that as a note to myself, and I say that to you as you listen. I don't have a trillion gems for you today. If you're able to find a trillion, let me know what you think. And if there's something else that, you know, you want to continue the conversation on, hit me up at Lydia T. Blanco on all social platforms, and of course at the Get My Life Tour. I also want to share that we have a community. I am serious about building community through storytelling and being connected. With that being said, if you are on Facebook, I know a lot of people are like, Facebook. I kind of love Facebook, okay? But if you are on Facebook, you can go to the Get My Life Tour backstage, answer a few questions Quality control is important, y'all, okay? Just answer the questions. That's all you got to do. And join our Facebook community. It is important to have those who have similar values and ideas and beliefs, and, some people who don't, be backstage with you. And everybody can't be backstage. But in those moments where you need somebody to clap with you, pray for you, give you an encouraging word before you take center stage, this is the community and the space where that is going to happen. So search on Facebook, the Get My Life Tour Backstage, and join our community. Of course, connect with us online. And pretty soon we'll be presenting opportunities, or I'll be presenting opportunities. Why am I talking about myself like it's more than one of me? For us to connect offline. I just want to thank you again for being on this stop. I'm back here in Harlem. I feel like there's a fire truck going by. Shout outs to Oatmeal, my dog, for not barking during this episode. But thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for practicing vulnerability today. Thank you for listening. And I will see you on the next stop. I'm not even going to peg the next episode because it is going to be a treat. A real treat. All right, y'all.